The airport gate agent's face remained professionally neutral, even as Genevieve Thornton raised her voice for the third time. I don't think you understand. I need to be on that flight. I have a meeting in Boston in 4 hours that will determine the future of my company. I understand, Miss Thornton, but the flight is overbooked and you arrived 7 minutes after the gate closed. I cannot reopen 7 minutes. Genevieve interrupted, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. 7 minutes because security took 45 minutes to process me. That's not my fault. That's your airport's incompetence. Ma'am, I sympathize, but don't patronize me with sympathy. I need solutions. Put me on the next flight. First class, now. The next flight to Boston isn't until tomorrow morning, the agent said, fingers flying over her keyboard. I can book you on that. Tomorrow morning is useless. Genevieve's voice carried across the terminal. Other passengers turned to stare. She didn't care. 20 years of building Thornton Global from nothing, and it was all going to collapse because of airport incompetence and a 7-minute technicality. Her phone buzzed, a text from her board chairman. Wallace Investment Group is flying in their own CEO candidate. If you're not at this meeting, they're moving forward without you. We need you here, Genevieve. Don't lose this company. She'd spent 6 months negotiating this merger, 6 months of 18-hour days, sacrificed weekends, abandoned relationships. Her entire life had been poured into making Thornton Global successful enough to attract a merger that would triple its value. And now some gate agent with a policy manual was going to destroy it because Genevieve was 7 minutes late. Book me on a private charter, Genevieve demanded. I'll pay whatever it costs. Ma'am, this is a commercial airport. I don't have access to charter. Then tell me who does. Genevieve slammed her hand on the counter, causing the agent to flinch. Someone in this incompetent airport must be able to think creatively instead of hiding behind policies. Before we continue, tell us in the comments where in the world you're watching from. We love knowing how far these stories of hope and resilience travel. Your comments inspire us to keep bringing you powerful narratives every week. Excuse me, a voice said behind her, male, calm, with a hint of exhaustion. I couldn't help overhearing. I have 2 seats on the Boston flight that just left. If it helps, you could have one.
Genevieve turned. A man in a yellow jacket and jeans stood there, holding the hand of a small girl in a red winter coat. He'd looked like he'd been traveling for days, rumpled clothes, tired eyes, but a kind face. "What are you talking about?" Genevieve asked. "The flight already left." "I know," the man said. "My daughter and I were supposed to be on it. We gave up our seats for a family with a medical emergency. The airline is rebooking us for tomorrow, but I heard you say you needed to get to Boston urgently. Maybe we could trade confirmation numbers or something? I don't know how it works, but—" "You gave up your seats?" Genevieve interrupted. "Voluntarily? Why would you do something so idiotic?" The man blinked, clearly taken aback by her tone. "Because a family needed it more than we did. A child was sick. They needed to get to Boston Children's Hospital tonight." "And that's my problem how?" Genevieve asked coldly. "You made a poor decision. That doesn't help me." The little girl tugged on her father's hand. "Dad, the mean lady is yelling." "I know, Hazel. Let's just go." "Wait," Genevieve said as they turned away. "You said you gave up 2 seats? If I could get one back." "No," the man said, his voice suddenly firm. "I thought you needed help, but I'm not giving my daughter's seat to someone who calls kindness idiotic and a sick child not your problem. Find your own flight, lady." He walked away, the little girl looking back at Genevieve with those enormous, judgmental child eyes. And Genevieve stood there, furious and helpless, watching her company slip away because she was 7 minutes late and too proud to be kind to strangers. Her phone buzzed again. Another text. "Charter services all booked due to holiday travel. You're not going to make it, are you? I'm sorry, Genevieve. We tried." She slumped against the counter, the fight draining out of her. 20 years. 20 years of sacrificing everything, building an empire, proving she was worth something despite being given up at birth and raised in foster care. 20 years of becoming exactly the kind of person who succeeded in business by being ruthless. And in one moment, 7 minutes, and a stranger's judgment, it was all over. Before we continue, tell us in the comments where in the world you're watching from. We love knowing how far these stories of hope and resilience travel. Your comments inspire us to keep bringing you powerful narratives every week.
Genevieve sat in the airport bar for 3 hours, numbly watching departure boards and drinking overpriced wine. The merger meeting was happening without her. Wallace Investment Group was probably interviewing their own CEO candidate right now. By morning, Thornton Global would have new leadership, and Genevieve would be nothing more than a cautionary tale about what happened when you were 7 minutes late. Her phone kept buzzing. She ignored it. What was the point? The company was gone. The life she'd built was gone. All because she'd been too busy yelling at a gate agent to see that a stranger had offered her exactly what she needed. Not the seat was gone too, but the kindness, the willingness to help, the human decency she'd spent 20 years forgetting how to recognize. "Excuse me, are you Genevieve Thornton?" A woman's voice, hesitant but determined. Genevieve looked up. A woman in her 60s, well-dressed but not wealthy, stood beside her table. She looked familiar, but Genevieve couldn't place her. "Yes," Genevieve said, tiredly. "If you're here to tell me I was rude earlier, save your breath. I'm aware." "I'm not here about that," the woman said. "I'm Martha Hayes. I work at Boston Children's Hospital. I was the mother with the sick child, the family who took the seats you needed." Genevieve felt her stomach drop. "Oh, I wanted to thank you," Martha continued, "for giving up your seat so we could get to Boston tonight. My grandson, he has a heart condition. The doctor said if we didn't get him there by midnight, the window for surgery would close. And because you and that man with the yellow jacket gave up your seats, we made it. Benjamin is in surgery right now. They think he's going to be okay."
"I didn't give up my seat," Genevieve said quietly. "I missed my flight. That man, the one in the yellow jacket, he gave up his seats. I just yelled at everyone." Martha looked confused. "But the gate agent said... She said you'd volunteered your seat for our family." "She lied to make you feel better," Genevieve said flatly. "Or maybe she assumed. I don't know. But I didn't do anything noble. I was too late, too angry, and too focused on my own problems to even think about anyone else." Martha sat down, uninvited. "So you're the woman who yelled at Isaac." "Isaac? The man in the yellow jacket. Isaac Graham. He's a single father. His daughter Hazel has leukemia. They were flying to Boston for her follow-up treatment at the same hospital where my grandson is. When we explained our emergency, Isaac immediately offered his seats. Didn't hesitate. Just said, family takes care of family, even when they're strangers." Genevieve felt something twist in her chest. His daughter has cancer? In remission now, thank God, but she needs regular checkups. And Isaac gave up his seats, gave up his daughter's medical appointment so my grandson could have emergency surgery. That's the kind of man he is. And I called him idiotic. I told him kindness was a poor decision. "Yes, you did," Martha said, not unkindly. "He told me about it while we were waiting to board. He was hurt, but not angry. He said you seemed like someone who'd forgotten what mattered, someone who needed help but couldn't see it when it was offered." "He's right," Genevieve admitted. "I've spent 20 years becoming someone who measures everything in profit and loss, who sees kindness as weakness, who thinks being 7 minutes late is the worst thing that could happen. When there are children dying and families desperate and strangers willing to sacrifice for people they'll never see again." Martha reached into her purse, pulled out a small notebook.
Isaac asked me to give you this if I saw you. He said you dropped it near the gate when you were yelling. He tried to return it, but you'd already left." Genevieve took the notebook. It was leather-bound, expensive, monogrammed with her initials. Her planning notebook, the one where she kept all her meeting notes, contact information, strategy ideas. The one she'd been frantically searching for in her bag, assuming she had left it in the car. She opened it. On the first page, in handwriting that wasn't hers, someone had written, "You needed kindness more than you needed this flight. I hope you find it. Isaac Graham." Below that, a phone number. Genevieve stared at the words until they blurred. This stranger, this man she'd insulted, whose kindness she'd called idiotic, had found her notebook, tried to return it, and left her a message about what she actually needed. And he was right. She didn't need the flight. She needed to remember how to be human. Where is he? Isaac. Is he still here? He and Hazel are at a hotel near the airport. Their rebooked flight is tomorrow morning. Hazel was exhausted, so they decided to rest. She wrote down an address. If you want to apologize, that's where they are. But Genevieve, don't go unless you mean it. Don't apologize because you feel guilty. Apologize because you actually understand what you did wrong. "I do understand," Genevieve said quietly. "I spent 20 years building a company and forgetting how to be a person. And today, I lost both. But maybe, I can get one of them back."
Genevieve stood outside the Holiday Inn for 15 minutes before she could make herself go inside. She'd faced boardrooms full of hostile investors, navigated hostile takeovers, fired executives who'd been with her for years. But apologizing to a stranger she'd insulted, that was somehow harder than any of it. She found Isaac in the hotel lobby, sitting with Hazel while the little girl colored in a Disney coloring book. Up close, Genevieve could see the exhaustion in his face, the worry he was trying to hide from his daughter. And she could see Hazel's bald head under her red knit cap, the port for IV medication visible at her collarbone. This child had cancer, and her father had given up her medical appointment so someone else's child could survive. And Genevieve had called that idiotic. "Mr. Graham?" Genevieve approached slowly, clutching the notebook like a shield. "I'm Genevieve Thornton. We met at the airport." Isaac looked up, recognition and wariness crossing his face simultaneously. "The mean lady," Hazel announced helpfully. "Yes, Genevieve agreed, kneeling to be at Hazel's level. "I was very mean. I'm sorry. I said terrible things to your dad when he was trying to help me." "Dad says you were having a bad day sometimes. Everyone has bad days sometimes." "Your dad is much kinder than I deserve," Genevieve said. She stood, faced Isaac. "I came to apologize and to thank you for returning my notebook. Martha Hayes found me at the airport and told me what you did, that you gave up your seats for her grandson, that Hazel missed her medical appointment because of it." "Benjamin needed it more," Isaac said simply. "Emergency surgery versus routine checkup. It wasn't a hard choice." "It was an incredible choice," Genevieve corrected. "Most people wouldn't have done it. I certainly wouldn't have." "I know," Isaac said, not unkindly. "You made that clear at the airport."
Genevieve flinched. "I did. And I was wrong. I've spent 20 years measuring success by ruthlessness, and today it cost me everything. My company, my merger, my self-respect. All because I was 7 minutes late and too angry to see that someone was offering me exactly what I needed." "Which was?" Isaac asked. "A reminder that people matter more than profit," Genevieve said. "That kindness isn't weakness. That being 7 minutes late to a meeting is nothing compared to a child needing emergency surgery or another child missing her cancer follow-up so someone else can live." Isaac studied her. "What happened with your meeting?" "I missed it. The merger is dead.
By morning, I'll probably be voted out as CEO. 20 years of building Thornton Global, and it's over because I couldn't get there in time. I'm sorry, Isaac said. And incredibly, he seemed to mean it. Don't be, Genevieve said. Maybe I needed to lose it. Maybe I needed to learn that the empire I built on ruthlessness was never going to make me happy. That success without humanity is just expensive misery. She handed him the notebook. Thank you for returning this, and for the message inside. You were right. I needed kindness more than I needed the flight. I'm just sorry it took losing everything to see it. You haven't lost everything, Isaac said. You lost a meeting. You might lose a company, but you're still here. You still have a choice about who you become next. I don't know who that is, Genevieve admitted. I've been Genevieve Thornton, CEO, for so long. I don't know how to be anything else. Then figure it out, Isaac suggested. You have time now. Use it to become someone you actually like. Hazel looked up from her coloring. Are you going to be nice now? I'm going to try, Genevieve promised. Good, Hazel declared. Mean ladies are sad. Nice ladies are happy. You should be happy. Out of the mouths of children, Genevieve thought. This 8-year-old with leukemia understood more about life than Genevieve had learned in 43 years.
Genevieve was halfway back to her own hotel when her phone rang. Martha Hayes. Genevieve, I know this is presumptuous, but Benjamin's surgery is taking longer than expected. I'm here alone, and I'm falling apart. Could you come? Just sit with me. I know we don't know each other, but I'm on my way, Genevieve said immediately. She found Martha in a hospital waiting room at 2 a.m., clutching a cold coffee and trying not to cry. Genevieve sat beside her, and for the first time in 20 years, simply offered presence instead of solutions. Thank you for coming, Martha whispered. My daughter, Benjamin's mother, she couldn't get a flight. She won't be here until morning, and I'm terrified. What if the surgery doesn't work? What if I made the wrong choice pushing for it? What if... You made the choice that gave him a chance, Genevieve said firmly. That's all any of us can do. Make the best choice we can with what we know. You got him here. Isaac got you here. Now the doctors are doing their part, and you're doing yours by being present. That's enough. They sat in silence. Then Martha asked, What happened with your meeting? The one you needed to get to? I missed it. Lost the company, probably. But sitting here with you, I'm realizing that company was never what I actually needed. I thought success would fill the hole left by growing up unwanted. But it didn't. It just made me better at pretending the hole wasn't there. You were in foster care? Martha asked gently. Until I aged out at 18. Nobody wanted me permanently. I was too old, too difficult, too damaged. So I learned to want nothing, to need nothing, to be so successful that being unwanted didn't matter because I didn't need anyone anyway. But you do need people, Genevieve said. All of us do. That's not weakness. That's human. I'm starting to see that. Starting to see that Isaac was right. I needed kindness more than I needed that flight. I needed to be reminded that there are things more important than mergers and profit margins. A doctor appeared at 3 a.m. Martha Hayes? Benjamin's surgery went well. He's in recovery. You can see him in about an hour. Martha collapsed in tears of relief. Genevieve held her, the stranger she'd met 6 hours ago, and felt something crack open in her chest. This was what mattered. Connection, presence, being there for people in their darkest moments. Not quarterly earnings reports, not merger negotiations, not building an empire to prove you were worth loving. At 4 a.m.,
Genevieve walked back to her hotel past the airport. The departure board showed flights leaving for dozens of cities. Boston flights every few hours. She could probably get on the next one, show up to the office, fight for her company. But she didn't want to. For the first time in 20 years, Genevieve Thornton didn't want to fight for something that had never made her happy. She wanted to figure out who she was without the company, without the title, without the armor she'd spent 2 decades building.
Genevieve went back to the hospital the next morning with coffee and breakfast sandwiches. Martha was in Benjamin's room, the little boy awake and stable. Isaac and Hazel were down the hall in the oncology unit for Hazel's rescheduled appointment. "How is he?" Genevieve asked. "Going to be okay," Martha said, tears of relief streaming. "The doctors say the surgery was successful. He'll need recovery time, but he's going to live. Because of Isaac, because he gave up his seats. Because you advocated for your grandson," Genevieve added. "Because people chose kindness over convenience, including you getting on that plane to be here for him." She stayed through the morning, helping Martha with insurance paperwork, calling Benjamin's mother with updates, just being present. And slowly, Genevieve began to understand what Isaac had meant. This was what mattered. Not what you achieved, but who you showed up for. Around noon, Isaac found her in the cafeteria. "You're still here?" "I am," Genevieve confirmed. "I've been helping Martha. How's Hazel?" "Good news. Cancer is still in remission. We're clear for another 6 months." Isaac's relief was palpable. "Thank you for staying with Martha last night. She told me you sat with her through Benjamin's surgery." "It was the least I could do. After everything." "You didn't have to," Isaac pointed out. "No, but I wanted to," Genevieve said. "For the first time in years, I did something because I wanted to, not because it advanced my career or proved something. And it felt—" She paused, searching for the word. "It felt meaningful." "That's what I've learned from Hazel's cancer. Meaning isn't in the big achievements. It's in the small moments, being there for someone, making a scared child laugh, holding someone's hand in the dark." "How do you do it?" Genevieve asked. "Stay kind when life is so hard. You're a single father raising a child with cancer. You give up medical appointments for strangers. You return notebooks to people who insulted you. How do you not become bitter?" "Because bitter doesn't help Hazel," Isaac said simply. "She's watching me, learning how to be a person by watching how I am one. And I want her to learn that kindness matters more than convenience, that people are worth showing up for, that even when life is hard, you can choose to make it easier for someone else." "Where's Hazel's mother?" Genevieve asked quietly. "She left when Hazel was diagnosed," Isaac said, pain flickering across his face. "Said she couldn't handle it. Signed away her parental rights and disappeared. So it's just Hazel and me. And I could be angry about that. I was angry for a long time. But anger wasn't helping either of us. So I chose differently." "You chose kindness," Genevieve said. "I chose to be the parent Hazel deserves. Kind, present, showing up even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because that's when it matters most." Genevieve felt tears threatening. "I don't know how to be that person." "Yes, you do," Isaac said gently. "You came back to apologize. You sat with Martha through surgery. You're still here instead of fighting for your company. You're already choosing differently. Now you just have to keep choosing."
Genevieve's phone had been exploding all morning. Missed calls from her board, her executives, her lawyers. Finally, she listened to a voicemail from her chairman. "Genevieve, the merger fell through. Wallace pulled out after you didn't show. But there's another option. Victor Rothschild is offering to buy Thornton Global outright for more money than the merger would have brought.
but he wants an answer by end of business today. Call me. More money. Clean exit. She could sell the company, walk away with hundreds of millions, never have to work again, never have to be CEO Genevieve Thornton anymore. But something about it felt wrong. She called her chairman from the hospital cafeteria. Tell me about Rothschild's offer. It's generous, very generous. But Genevieve, he's planning to gut the company, fire half the staff, offshore operations, maximize profit extraction. Within 5 years, Thornton Global won't exist except as a name on a spreadsheet. So he's buying it to destroy it, Genevieve said. He's buying it to profit from it. That's business. That's what I would have said 3 days ago, Genevieve admitted. But I'm not sure that's the kind of business I want to do anymore. What are you saying? I'm saying, what if we don't sell? What if we restructure instead? Make Thornton Global about something besides profit? Genevieve, you missed the Wallace merger because you couldn't get to Boston in time. The board is already questioning your leadership. If you turn down Rothschild's offer, they'll vote you out anyway and sell it themselves. Then let them. But I need to at least try. To build something I'd actually be proud of, something that values people over profit margins. She hung up and found Isaac in Benjamin's room, where Hazel was entertaining the recovering boy with stories about her toy rabbit. Can I ask your advice? They walked to a quiet corner. Genevieve explained the situation, the offer, the choice, the board's likely response. What do you want to do? Isaac asked. I want to turn it down, Genevieve admitted. I want to restructure Thornton Global into something meaningful. Create jobs, value employees, build something that actually helps people instead of just extracting profit. But realistically, the board will fire me and sell it anyway. So what's the point? The point is you'll have tried. You'll have chosen values over profit. And even if you lose, you'll lose having stood for something. That's worth more than hundreds of millions gotten by destroying what you built. Spoken like someone who's never been broke, Genevieve said, then immediately regretted it. But Isaac just laughed. I'm a single father with medical debt for my daughter's cancer treatment. I work 3 part-time jobs to keep us afloat. Trust me, I understand money. But I also understand that there are things worth more, like being able to look your daughter in the eye and tell her you made choices you're proud of. And if I lose everything? Then you lose it, Isaac said with a shrug. And you figure out what's next. But at least you'll have tried to be someone worth being. That matters more than success.
Genevieve flew to Boston the next morning, not for a merger, but for a board meeting. She walked into the conference room where 3 days ago she'd been expected to secure Thornton Global's future. Now she was here to possibly destroy it. I'm rejecting Rothschild's offer, Genevieve said without preamble, and I'm proposing a complete restructuring of our company priorities. She presented her plan: employee profit sharing, reduced executive compensation, community investment programs, a shift from pure profit extraction to sustainable growth that valued human impact. This is financial suicide, one board member said. Shareholders will revolt. Then they'll have to revolt with a different CEO, Genevieve said calmly, because I'm done building a company that makes money by making people miserable. I missed the Wallace merger because I was 7 minutes late to a flight. But I learned something in those 7 minutes. I learned that the company I built, ruthless, efficient, profit-focused, was never going to make me happy. It was just going to make me rich and lonely. So, this is therapy masquerading as business strategy? Another board member scoffed. No, Genevieve said. This is me realizing that 20 years of success without meaning is just expensive failure. I'd rather build something I'm proud of and lose it than keep building something that makes me hate myself. "The board won't support this," her chairman warned. "I know, which is why I'm also announcing my resignation, effective immediately. You can sell to Rothschild if you want, but I won't be part of destroying what I built. I'd rather walk away with nothing than stay and watch it become everything I despise." She stood to leave, but Patricia Wellington, the oldest board member who'd been silent through the entire meeting, spoke up. "Sit down, Genevieve. We're not done." She turned to the other board members. "I've served on this board for 12 years. I've watched Genevieve build Thornton Global from a startup to an empire. And in all that time, I've never seen her passionate about anything except quarterly earnings, until today." She looked at Genevieve. "What changed?" "I met someone who gave up his child's medical appointment so a stranger's grandchild could have emergency surgery, and I called him idiotic. Then I watched that grandchild's grandmother wait through surgery alone, and I realized I've been measuring success by the wrong metrics my entire life. It's not about how much you achieve, it's about who you show up for." "And you think that philosophy can run a multi-billion-dollar company?" Patricia asked. "I think that philosophy should run every company. But I understand if the board disagrees, which is why I'm resigning." Motion to reject Genevieve's resignation and to implement her restructuring plan on a trial basis. 6 months. We measure both profit and employee satisfaction. If it works, we continue. If it fails, we revisit. Who seconds? Silence. Then, unexpectedly, 2 other board members raised their hands. "It's worth trying," one said. "I've been on boards for 30 years. I've never heard a CEO say people matter more than profit. Maybe it's time we did." The vote was 5-4, barely passing, but passing. Genevieve remained CEO, and Thornton Global had 6 months to prove that compassion could coexist with profit.
The restructuring was brutal. 3 board members resigned. Some employees left, uncomfortable with the new expectations. Quarterly earnings dipped. Shareholders complained. But other things changed too. Turnover decreased. Innovation increased. Employees started talking about Thornton Global as a place they wanted to work, not just a place that paid well. And slowly, profitability returned, not to the extractive levels Rothschild would have demanded, but to sustainable levels that actually made people proud. Genevieve stood in the Thornton Global lobby 6 months after that airport gate closed, looking at the new company mission statement on the wall. Success measured in lives improved, not just profits earned. Her phone rang. Isaac. They'd stayed in touch over the past 6 months. Calls, texts, coffee when his medical trips brought her to her city. Not romance. Friendship. The kind built on mutual respect and shared understanding. "How'd the 6-month review go?" Isaac asked. "We passed. Barely. But we proved that valuing people doesn't destroy profits, it just redistributes them more fairly." "Congratulations. I knew you could do it." "I wouldn't have had without you," Genevieve admitted. "Without that day at the airport when you showed me what actually mattered, when you gave up your seats for strangers and returned my notebook with a message about kindness." "I was just trying to help," Isaac said. "You did more than help," Genevieve said. "You saved me, not from missing a flight, from missing my entire life." "How's Martha and Benjamin?" "Thriving. Martha joined the Thornton Global Community Advisory Board. She's helping us design programs for families dealing with medical crises. Benjamin is doing great. He sent me a drawing of a superhero last week, said it was me because I stayed with his grandma when she was scared." "You are a superhero," Isaac said warmly. "Just not the kind you thought. The kind who shows up, who sits with people in the dark, who chooses values over profit, even when it costs everything." "I learned that from you," Genevieve said. "From watching you give up your daughter's medical appointment for a stranger. From seeing that kindness isn't weakness. It's the hardest, bravest thing anyone can do." "Speaking of Hazel," Isaac said, "she asked me to invite you to her birthday party next month. She's turning 9. She wants you there because, and I quote, 'the mean lady became a nice lady, and that's worth celebrating.'" Genevieve laughed, tears threatening. "Tell her I wouldn't miss it, and that I'm still working on being a nice lady, but I'm trying." "Trying is enough," Isaac said. "That's all any of us can do. Show up and try." After hanging up, Genevieve walked through her offices. Employees greeted her by name, not fearfully the way they used to, with genuine warmth, with the recognition that they were valued, not just as workers, but as people. She thought about the woman she'd been 6 months ago, standing at that airport gate, screaming about being 7 minutes late, thinking a missed meeting was the worst thing that could happen. Not seeing that the man offering help was offering something far more valuable than a seat on a plane. He was offering a reminder of what mattered, of who she could become, of the choice everyone has to make, profit or people, extraction or connection, success or meaning. And she'd chosen, was still choosing. Every day, every decision, every time she measured success not by quarterly earnings, but whether she could look in the mirror and recognize the person staring back, the woman who lost her flight and found her humanity.
Hazel's 11th birthday party was at a park, filled with kids and laughter and the beautiful chaos of childhood. Genevieve sat with Isaac, watching Hazel run through the playground with Benjamin, now 8 and completely healthy, both children alive because a stranger had given up seats on a plane 2 years ago. "I got an offer last week," Genevieve told Isaac. "A speaking engagement. They want me to talk about restructuring Thornton Global, about putting people over profits, about building success that actually means something." "Are you going to do it?" Isaac asked. "I think so," Genevieve said. "If my story can help other CEOs realize they're measuring success by the wrong metrics, maybe it's worth telling. Even the embarrassing parts, especially the embarrassing parts, like yelling at strangers in airports and calling kindness idiotic." "You've come a long way," Isaac observed. "We both have," Genevieve corrected. "You taught me that missing a flight wasn't the disaster. Building a life I hated was the disaster, and that I could choose differently any time I was brave enough to try." "You gave me something too," Isaac said quietly. "You showed Hazel that people can change, that being mean doesn't make you permanently bad, that trying to be better matters more than being perfect. She talks about you sometimes, the mean lady who became nice. She uses you as proof that everyone deserves second chances." "Including you?" Genevieve asked. Isaac looked surprised. "What do you mean?" "You've spent 4 years being Hazel's father, putting her first, sacrificing everything for her treatment and recovery. And now she's healthy. Now you have space to think about what comes next. Have you thought about it?" "Sometimes," Isaac admitted, "but it feels selfish. Hazel needs stability, consistency, not her father trying to rebuild his life. Hazel needs to see her father living, not just surviving, not just sacrificing, actually building a life he wants. Because that's what you taught me, that life is worth living for things beyond achievement." They sat in comfortable silence watching children play. 2 years ago, they'd been strangers at an airport gate. Now they were friends, family almost. The kind of family you choose instead of inherit. "Thank you," Genevieve said quietly. "For that day at the airport, for offering your seats, for returning my notebook with that message about kindness, for showing me that I'd spent 20 years building the wrong thing. You saved my life." "You saved mine too," Isaac said. "You showed me that sacrifice doesn't have to mean martyrdom, that I can be a good father and still have a life, that trying to be better matters more than being perfect." Hazel ran over, breathless and grinning. "Genevieve, come play. We're doing a treasure hunt and we need one more person on our team." "I'm not very good at treasure hunts," Genevieve warned.
"That's okay," Hazel said, grabbing her hand. "Dad says trying is what matters. Come on."
Genevieve let herself be pulled into the game, running through the park with children, looking for hidden treasures, laughing in a way she hadn't laughed in 20 years. And she thought about that airport gate, the flight she'd missed, the patience she'd lost. She thought she was losing everything. Turned out, she was finding it. The treasure wasn't in the quarterly earnings or the successful mergers or the empire she'd built. The treasure was this: running through a park with a child who'd survived cancer, because a stranger had given up his seats, because kindness had mattered more than convenience. The treasure was learning that trying was enough, that showing up mattered more than succeeding, that the life she'd been frantically rushing toward had been the wrong destination all along. 2 years ago, she'd lost her flight and her patience. Today, she'd found her purpose. And it was worth infinitely more than any merger, any quarterly earnings report, or any measure of success she'd once thought mattered. The mean lady had become nice, and in becoming nice, she'd become happy. Finally, fully, completely happy.
If this story moved you, you've experienced the power of Becca's stories. We create narratives about missed flights that save lives, about strangers who teach us what we've forgotten, about losing patience and finding purpose, about the 7 minutes that change everything. Subscribe to Becca's Stories and join our community that believes in second chances given in airport terminals, in notebooks returned with messages about kindness, in restructuring companies to value people, and in the courage to choose meaning over money even when it costs everything. Every week, we bring you stories of single parents who sacrifice for strangers, children who survive impossible odds, and transformation that begins with one missed flight. Share this story with someone who's measuring success by the wrong metrics, who's rushing toward the wrong destination, who needs to learn that being 7 minutes late might be the best thing that ever happened to them. Comment below and tell us about a time when missing something led to finding what you actually needed. Because here at Becca's Stories, we believe that the flights we miss are sometimes the destinations we needed, that strangers in airport terminals carry the lessons we've forgotten, that children with cancer teach us more than any business school, and that trying to be better matters infinitely more than being perfect. Until next time, remember, you might not need what you think you need. You might need what a stranger is trying to give you. Choose kindness. Choose patience. Choose to show up. That's what heroes do.